Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Raj, your HR pal. A quick intro about me. I come with 2 decades of experience in the field of HR, served with top IT majors. I am back with yet another interesting topic. Simple techniques and guide to crack any interview. Exciting, isn't it? Let's get into the video. If we think of interview, what comes to your mind? Just imagine. Fear, nervousness, and that's natural. Interview process or the hiring process differs from company to company. It could be based on the role that you applied, the company that you applied. There might be different types of assessment. It could be the technical test, it could be psychometric, it could be personality test or aptitude test, cognitive test, different types of assessment. It could be group discussions. It could be, different types of interview, the technical interview, virtual interview, face-to-face interview, HR interview, whatnot, right? I mean, there are different types and every company follows their own specific way of, assessments, right? But what is most important is the face-to-face interview. Remember, folks, and with the pandemic period getting over, companies are insisting for a face-to-face interview. Based on the performance in this interview, it will decide if you're getting selected or moving forward to the next level or not. So this is very, very crucial. Before an interview, one needs to be dressed well groomed, and be on time for the interview. We all know this. I mean, I don't have to say this, right? Beyond this, there are lots in the technical interview that all of us need to focus on to go to the next level, to get selected, right? What are those aspects that you need to note? And that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. What is the very first question that the interviewer asks in an interview? Any guesses? Yes, you guessed it right. It's not about, did we have food? It's not about, our well-being. It's not about anything else. It's introduce yourself or tell me about yourself, right? Traditionally, this has been the very first question in an interview. And I remember people asking me this in the past whenever I've attended interviews. And the irony is that I've asked the same question to thousands of candidates. And if my gut feel is right, this question will continue to be asked in future as well. Now, the important point is we know this question already, right? And we cannot afford to answer this incorrectly. If you are an experienced person, you have lots to speak. You can talk about right from your education to your experience, to your projects, to your passion, to your goals. But if you're a fresher, right, you have very less to say, right? So it is very important that, you write down at least 10 to 15 lines on how you should respond to this and prepare on it. Because this is the very important question, right? And many a times it so happens that, how much ever, you prepare, you may not remember this in the interview. So there's nothing wrong, mug it up, right? By heart it, so that you do very well in the interview, right? I have also posted another video on assessment and interview preparation for freshers, right? In which I've specified on how you can effectively answer to this question on introduce yourself, right? I'll give the link in the description. Go through the video, learn the tips and techniques so that you can handle this question much more effectively. The next is the resume, right? You would have only written the resume. We would have only sent the same resume to the company. We also know that the interviewers maximum questions are going to be based on the same resume, right? But still, we tend to oversell ourselves by writing too many things that we don't know, right? Most of them do this mistake, right? We would have heard of some technology and we mention it in the resume that, we have the knowledge of it. I think that's something that needs to be avoided. We feel if we mention many skills in the resume, there's high possibilities of getting a job, but that's not true, right? Even if you have written this resume, ensure that you at least prepare the basics of those skills that you have put in the resume, right? Every word of the resume is something that you should be at least knowing the basics of, right? If you ask something on your resume and you cannot answer, just imagine the situation, right? You are indirectly saying that, you have lied in the resume, right? It will only make the situation even worse, right? So it's very important that you have the knowledge of what you're mentioning in the resume. And if you don't know something, don't even mention it in the resume. So mention what you know and don't mention what you don't know in the resume. That's very important because that's going to create an impression about you. While applying for the job itself, you know the roles for which you have applied, right? So we should know what is being expected from the role. It could be the technical skills or the functional skills or interpersonal aspects, etc. Right? So hence, your preparation for the interview should be based on the role that you applied for. Right? And when we prepare, we realize that there are tons and tons of data and information available, and thanks to the internet. And many times what we get confused is what all needs to be prepared, right? I mean, there's so much of data and information available, and is there something a limited version that I can prepare for? Now, let me give you some tips here. Okay? What's effective is, one, read the JD very clearly, right? Highlight the pointers, highlight the skills from the JD. That's very important, and that's something, which is critical for the role. Once you have highlighted the skills and the attributes that are needed for the role from the JD, second is Google the interview questions around those skills. And take my word, folks, most of the questions in the interview will be from those only. Ironically, many interviewers also search for interview questions from Google only, right? While I'm not saying that everyone do that, but many do so, right? So it's very simple. I mean, you don't have to read everything from everywhere, right? If you prepare well for the first 2 to 3 links that Google shows, I mean, that itself is sufficient enough to manage an interview. I remember one of my friend recently who gave an interview, I mean, where he searched in Google as, Python commonly asked questions, prepared for it, and believe me, folks, most of the questions were from there only, right? And he cleared the interview as well. Remember, folks, preparation is very, very important before an interview. And now that you know how to prepare, how much to prepare, it will make your life even more easier. Now that we have prepared very well on, everything possible that we have mentioned in the resume, right? I mean, it itself will give you that confidence. But remember, folks, actually the preparation would have been done very, very well. Okay. But what is very important is to answer with the same confidence in the interview. Okay. But many don't do that. There will be some sort of nervousness. There will be some sort of fear. It will be lingering in our mind that, am I answering it right or wrong? Whatever I prepared versus what I am telling. Is it correct or not? Am I performing well? Am I, impressing the interviewer rightly or not, etc. Right? With which itself, it will sound to the interviewer that you are not confident in your responses. You are not confident in your answers. But what will be running in your mind is very different, right? I mean, it's an interview. I should clear the interview somehow, right? Am I answering it well or not? It's not about, you not being confident in your answer, right? But, with all these doubt around your responses, it will sound to the other person that you don't have clarity on your own answers, right? So, very, very important, folks. Whatever you answer, whatever your responses are, right? Do it with confidence and conviction. And it will sound very, very positive to the interviewer. The next is the communication skills, right? How much ever we are very well prepared for the interview, how much ever, we have, practiced confidence while talking, right? But there is something in between, right? Which is the communication skills, the English speaking skills, only through which you can talk confidently and fluently, right? But remember, folks, we cannot have an average communication to manage this conversation, right? It becomes very difficult then, right? Here, communication skills are very, very important, right? I mean, if you notice, what we talk in our day-to-day life is very different than what we talk in the interview, what we talk at the workplace. Unless we communicate effectively to others on what we know, the other person wouldn't know that, what are the knowledges that you carry, what are the expertise that you carry, right? At least to communicate what you know, the fluency is necessary. Remember, folks, interview preparation, learning basics, resume preparations, all of these are secondary in today's world, right? English speaking skills are important. If your interview is in English, then preparing yourself to communicate in English on what's in your mind is very, very critical, right? So that's when rest of it will happen. Remember, folks, the communication skills are so very important in today's world that even if your technical skills are slightly average, you can still crack the interview, right? So remember, 30 to 40% is the technical skills. 60 to 70% are the communication skills that can help you crack the interview, right? Even if your knowledge level is less, it's okay. But your communication skills need to be very, very good. So very important, okay? Practice to have the right communication skills. The next is to be honest, right? Remember, folks, normally an interview will be for about what, 30 to 45 minutes on an average, right? Maybe 10 to 12 questions in total. It's not necessary that you need to answer all the questions in the interview, right? If you're asked on something that you know little, right? Answer to the extent to which you know, right? Beyond that, you can say that, that's all the opportunity that you got to work on that particular skill. If you don't know something, it's better to say that you didn't have an opportunity to work on it and don't elaborate beyond that, right? End it right there. Instead of answering something wrong and, remember, by answering wrong itself, you're already at -1. And if you're unfortunate, follow-up question itself can be on what you answered, right? And by first, the actual answer itself you don't know, right? And the follow-up question is another thing, which you will definitely not know, right? So makes it -2. Instead, if you had admitted it the very first time that, you don't know the answer or you didn't have an opportunity to work on it, maybe, the next question that would have come to you would have been something that you already know, right? If you don't know something, it's okay to say that you don't know. Okay, there's no problem at all. And remember, folks, no interviewer will expect 100% result. If you are asked 10 questions, it's not that, you should answer all 10 questions correctly. Many a times, even an interviewer comes with a mindset that, if the candidate is 60 to 70% fitting, right, to the requirement, it's okay to select. So it's okay to say that, you don't know if you really don't know something, right? But ensure that you put it across in a very, very polished manner, saying that, you have not had an opportunity to work on it. And if you get it, right, you will learn the skill quickly and deliver it. And the last, very, very important, at the end of the interview, every interviewer will ask one question. Can you guess it, folks? Yes. Very simple. Do you have any questions for me? And remember, folks, we should not be saying no. We should not be saying it's okay. We should not be saying fine and end the interview. Very, very important. Because such a question is not just asked for the sake of it. Such a question is asked to determine if you have genuinely applied for the job or have you applied the job without any interest, right? This question is to test your interest level, right? It's to test your genuinity, and hence you should not be ending this question with a no. You can ask 2 to 3 simple questions to show your genuinity and interest level for the job. Like, if I'm selected, what might be my responsibilities, right? What can be my career growth after I join the company? How does that process work in your project, right? Explain the project structure, etc. There are lots that you can ask the interviewer back, right? And the questions that you ask should be as if you have already been selected and you have joined the company, right? That is how the questions should sound like. Right? There is nothing wrong in asking back, and it's very important to ask. Remember, folks, right? But before you ask any questions, it's also very, very important that you research about the company. You understand that, what is the company doing? What are the products and services that the company deals with, right? And what are the company's mission, values, culture, all of that, so that it will help you customize your question very much specific to the company. There are a lot of tools today, right? You can browse through their website. There are social media profiles. There are a lot of news articles available. There are a lot of, channels in which you can understand about the company, right? But it's very important to research about the company before you go for an interview. Remember, folks, even if you're not too strong on the technical side and average, combine it with all the attributes that I mentioned in this video. High chances that you will be successful, because at least that's my view from my experience, because all the attributes that I mentioned are very, very important to crack an interview. I hope this video was helpful, informative and inspiring. If yes, like the video, share it with your family members, friends and people in your community. If you are attending some interviews and preparing for it, I wish you all the very best. If you have any video suggestions, do post it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I'll meet you again with another interesting topic. Stay tuned.